Doing good, Maverick here. Welcome to podcast episode number 152. Many are looking for their dream job instead of their dream lifestyle. This is a pretty massive thing when it comes to the modern school system where people are kind of funneled into choosing what school to go to because they can get the right job and all that. And it's so kind of ingrained that people are looking for their dream job, like it is somehow supposed to be the solution to everything, or like it's at least this will be the solution to all your money problems. Like that's it. Probably not. So that's one thing, is a job what you should be looking for. For some people it is. For some people, maybe it's something else, or maybe it's a job first, then gradually switch into an entrepreneur, who knows? But that whole mindset of just looking for the dream job without really considering the dream lifestyle. First of all, what do you think you are put here on earth to do? What do you think you are meant to do? That's the big one. But also, then also the lifestyle. Because a higher paid job doesn't always mean more money in the end. Because if that higher paid job means you then have to move to live in a very expensive place, yeah, then maybe the whole thing is like it's going to eat up almost everything. So maybe a lower paid job where you can live where you want to live, out on the countryside maybe, where you can live a lot more cheaply. Maybe it's actually going to make you end up with more money in the end of each month after your expenses is paid, compared to a very high paid job, so to speak, in a city. That's one thing. And also, if that high paid job is going to require like 8 years of extra schooling, extra education to get that job, yeah, then what's the price? Is that going to be 8 years with almost no work? Maybe a tiny little bit of part-time work, but almost no work for 8 years. And also you're going to be racking up a bunch of student loans. Then how many, if you're racking up student loans, how many years is it going to take you when you get that job? If you get one, when you get that job, how many years is it going to take you to pay off those loans? 5? If all you did was pay for your living expenses and you lived really cheaply and focused on paying down those loans, how many years would it take you? 5, 10? Okay, so the education really didn't take you 8 years then, because it was kind of taking you the years you also have to use to pay off those loans. That kind of has to go into the whole equation, the whole the whole math piece, So maybe it's going to cost you like 15 years of life to get the education, pay off the loans. Boom, now you have a higher paid job compared to getting out of primary school. Boom, getting a job, but it's a lower paid job. But if you are living in an area where the living expenses can be low, maybe you can do something creatively, like buy a house with 3 apartments and rent out 2 of them, live in one of them. Or maybe you could buy an old log house, or maybe you could, just as an experiment, live in your own built tiny house, who knows? And then later on, buy a house. My point is, if you're running those numbers, you might get shocked at how the math piece actually work. And the thing is, when it comes to so-called high-paying jobs, oftentimes you can get jobs that are paying the same without any education. Maybe you need a few courses or certificates, things like that, driver's licenses, or pretty quick courses that you can take in a few weeks. Maybe you need that, but you don't need several years of education. And the kind of jobs you can get without that education can oftentimes be just as high paid as many of the jobs that takes many years of education. That's the thing. So yeah, that's just a few thoughts I have when it comes to choosing in between jobs, because yeah, I think those things needs to be factored in, because if not, it's kind of a recipe for disaster in many scenarios, because people might spend years of their life. Yeah, I need to get this good paying job, so I'm going to extra education for like 10 years, like 7 to 10 years, and then they have to pay off their college loans. Now they have the job, and kind of, oh snap, what do I want to do now? Now I have the job. And what you often find when you get those jobs is that when you were in school, a lot of people were like scrambling to get into those jobs. But when you actually get inside those jobs and look around, it's like, okay, so almost nobody is saying it, but it looks like all of these people are actually trying to get out of here if they could, in a good way or an economical way. If they could escape this place, they would do it. This is not really living the dream for most people. That's what you extremely often are going to find, because the dream job, yeah, but is it the dream lifestyle? And what a lot of people find out is that yeah, now they have the job and everything, but they want to start they want to start a family, for example. Yeah, but I don't want to raise a family in this city. Like I have this job, but I can't raise a family this place. A lot of people are doing it, but I'm not going to raise a family here. Maybe you think that, or maybe that's what you want to do. But yeah, so where do you want to live? No, maybe you really want to raise your family out in the countryside where you grew up. Yeah, okay, so you kind of have to leave the job then, if that's what you want. Something to think about. There's a lot of people spending years on education to get a job. Maybe they never get a job in what they have a degree in, what they're educated in. That's one thing. But a lot of people also, they get the job, but they end up switching later on. So, yeah, maybe, yeah, and when they switch, just to mention that, to me, it seems like they are usually switching to some job that they don't even need an extra education for. So, yeah. But instead of that, if they had actually looked for their dream lifestyle, maybe it can still be done with a job for a lot of people. The ideal dream lifestyle probably doesn't include a job as an employee. A lot of people say that there's this popular saying that, yeah, if you do what you love, you will never have to work for a day for the rest of your life. Because when you work on something you love, it doesn't feel like work. That's silly. Work is work. There is a big difference between doing something you're passionate about, you like, and something you hate and is a drudgery. Yeah, it is a big difference. But at the same time, it is a job. So you're not really guaranteed a fantastic life in all areas of life if you have a job you love. Because if the job entails that you're going to be struggling economically for the rest of your life, or almost the rest of your life, or it entails crazy work hours, or you have to move to a completely different location that you really don't want to live in, things like that, it affects it a lot. And also, yeah, the whole thing about the dream job is that if you had looked at the dream lifestyle instead, I think that's in many cases a better approach, because you might find that yeah, for your case, maybe you should just get out of primary school and just get the best paying job you can locally. That's it. No extra schooling. Kind of like how the Amish does. But yeah, I'm trying to avoid getting on a long rant here. One disadvantage if you go out of primary school and just try to get a job immediately is that it can be kind of psychopathic when it comes to how many of these companies are operating. Because if you're a 40-year-old man, there's a lot of jobs you can get without having any education for it. But if you're a 16 or 18 or 20-year-old, they start asking like, do you have an education in this? Oh, no, I don't. I just want to have a job. No, you can get a trainee position. That way, if you're a trainee with us for like 2 to 5 years, you can take this test or whatever they call it, and you can get your own diploma or degree. So then you end up working for half pay for several years just to get that stupid degree to plaster up on your wall like some kind of participation trophy. So that's another trap outside of the school system. If that's the psychopathic trick they try to pull on you, then just leave those wackos alone and just go to another place nearby where they can give you a job without all the stupid nonsense. I have a big pet peeve about these psychopathic things because it's rude to young people. If something is too stupid for a 40-year-old man to do, then we should be extremely careful about recommending that very thing to a 16-year-old or a 20-year-old. It is crazy what's going on. It's like things that a 40-year-old man would never do it. He would almost explode in anger if you asked him to. But if it comes to like a 16-year-old or a 20-year-old, yeah, get a trainee position, work for half pay for 5 years or 2 years, 3 years, and then you can get a degree, and then we will pay you in full. What if you don't want the degree? So yeah, that can be a challenge, but there are ways around it. I just had to mention that one because it's, especially here in Norway, it's a big one. But yeah, the dream lifestyle, if you're looking for that, for a lot of people, maybe it means not having a job at all. No, I'm not an expert at this. I'm basically in the process myself of escaping the matrix or the 9 to 5 rat race. You know, maybe you want to have time, income, and location independence. Maybe you want to choose what you want to do, when you want to do it, where you want to do it, and with whom you want to do it. The 4 Ws, the freedom multiplier, as Tim Ferriss calls it, in the 4-hour work week. If that's the case, maybe you should build an online business. Now there's a lot of failures and a lot of extra risk, maybe, compared to having a job but there are people doing it. Despite me, myself, having failed for years when it comes to different things, there are people doing it. And when it comes to online businesses, there's literally thousands of alternatives. But if you want a lot of free time, or at least the possibility of having a lot of free time, maybe you choose to work a lot, but maybe in periods you want to work less to have more free time, and you're looking for a kind of lifestyle business or something that can be a form of semi-passive income where you can work like 2 to 15 hours per week and make 5 figures or more in profit per month. Then there is especially 2 business models that comes to mind for me, and that's email marketing and online paid communities. When it comes to email marketing, I am planning to interview at least 30 success stories of people that are running an email list lifestyle business for my online education and community platform, terrific30.com. But at the time of this recording, I have not done those interviews yet. But I have started interviewing a bunch of real-life success stories of people that are running paid communities and making at least $10,000 in profit per month. At the time of this recording, I've not done all 30 yet, but I made a bunch of them. And it has been fascinating and extremely inspiring. The dream of freedom is possible. There are some people doing it. And the really cool thing about paid communities, you don't have to be an expert to do it. You don't need a lot of capital. And it can be launched really quickly. Several of the people I interviewed, from the day they launched their paid community and until they reached at least $10,000 in profit per month, it took them like 2 to 3 months for several of them. Not all of them, but for several of them, that was the case. Really interesting. And the thing is, a lot of people that are launching paid communities, they are launching them super quickly, where they're starting with a lower price. Maybe their goal is to charge $49 per month or $500 per month, depending on what kind of paid community they are building. But what they are oftentimes doing, they're starting with a very low price for the first members. Maybe a low price for the first month or for the first 10 members or something like that. So that way, they can launch super quickly. They don't have to prepare everything and get everything just right now. They just have the vision for the community and the rough plan and immediately launching. Then they're improving it and growing it and gradually increasing the price as well. And the people that get in early at that low price, they stay at that low price for as long as they stay a member. That's usually the case. So that way it can be a great deal for the people getting in early as well. So yeah, that's just a few thoughts around that. And when it comes to paid communities, it is kind of mind-boggling how much value you can provide to people inside a paid community if you do it correctly. And since it's usually built as a subscription business, where they will be paying you monthly to be a member, it is a pretty reliable and predictable source of income compared to other things. And it's also something you can grow in a kind of compound way. You get a little bit of that compound effect because you're not starting from zero every month. If you want to make money selling some kind of e-commerce product online, for example, yeah, if you're making if you're making $5,000 per month, 1 month, the next month, to make that $5,000, now you kind of have to make the same amount of sales to generate that amount. And you have to do it over again the next month. You might be building a list and a process, but still, it's not as reliable as a subscription business. Because a subscription business, if you just made, like, let's say sales for $5,000 per month, 1 month, the next month, yeah, you still had members. If you made the same amount of sales, now you would almost double your business, unless you had a really high churn rate. But if people stay a member for long, when they sign up, you can grow like crazy by making the same amount of sales. Whereas another business that was not a subscription business, if they made the same amount of sales every month, they were stagnant. But you who are building a subscription business, if you just make the same amount of sales per month, you might be growing like crazy, because it is kind of compounding, because you're building on top of what you did last month and the month before there, you know. So that's just a few advantages of running an online paid community. But if you want to learn from real life success stories and also connect with a bunch of people that are in the process of building their own paid community, just go to communitycashcows.com. All right, take care and God bless.